best would be to consider the alternates as members, but again, we're trying to also fit certain categories that are specified by the MSBA.
So once we find out, okay, how many more members we need, you put the word out, we get the response, we may have to take a vote here to expand the committee.
Correct.
If necessary, which I think would be fine. Okay. And you don't need a vote to do that, right? You can just.
No, but I just want the committee to be aware that I'm going to be putting into the transcript kind of an all-call, and I'll specify what areas in addition to general members.
Okay. And at the same time, we need to review the new, or look at the charge for the building committee now, correct?
Correct.
Because obviously, it needs to change from what we had before. Just need to make sure we're comfortable with this. I'll read the main charge as proposed, and then we can discuss it, and then we can talk about the responsibilities underneath. And remember again that the responsibilities have changed because of the new MSBA policies, which require us to do things differently now to build a school than we did in the past. So the main charge that we have now before us is the Secondary Schools Building Committee will work with the community and the Massachusetts School Building Authority to review the facility needs of the middle and high school and schools, and to determine the priorities and plans for the renovations, additions, and/or construction of appropriate facilities to meet the current and future needs of education. I don't see any issues with that. Anybody see any problem with that? We get down to the responsibilities. The new first responsibility is to update the statements of interest submitted to the Mass School Building Authority for the middle and high schools. The second is to continue to work with the firm of Dorr and Whittier and the Mass School Building Authority to review the need for expansion and renovation of the middle and high schools. The third one, and David, I wanted to ask you about this because it talks about securing funding to work with an additional architectural design firm. I thought that the way the MSBA regulations read now, we wouldn't be securing any funding until after a project is approved. Is that correct? So
Correct.
is this, and we may, and I guess the other question is, if they have the model school program where there's 6 or 7 school, models to pick from, would we be hiring the architectural design firm, or would the state tell us who we had to use?
No, you would be hiring the architectural firm. However, the designer selection process would be under the auspices of the MSBA. So in other words, if you chose someone, firm X, then firm X needs to be approved by the MSBA.
Okay. So let me read number 3 then. Secure funding to work with an architectural design firm as well as school department and town officials to complete the preliminary plans and specifications for additions, alterations, and/or new construction facilities which are consistent with the 10-year enrollment and program needs of the 6 through 12 secondary population. Number 4, provide the school committee and the board of selectmen with periodic updates of the work of the secondary school building committee. Number 5, work with the school committee to place articles on future town meeting warrants for the purpose of raising sufficient funds to complete approved projects. Number 6, upon approval by the Mass School Building Authority and the town meeting, work with the selected architectural design firm to complete the project design and submit appropriate applications for state reimbursement of all projects as appropriate. Number 7, oversee the construction phase of building projects. Number 8, work with town and school department officials and the Mass School Building Authority to oversee financial aspects of both projects. And number 9, complete other tasks required by the project. Any questions or comments? Sounds fine to me. As I said, most of the revisions are related to the changes in the state law at the MSBA.
Do we need to approve it?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Dr. Bruce, second by Mr. Bowers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next. It's hard to believe, but we're talking about the fiscal year 2010 budget. Even though we've just started fiscal 2009 school year. And we met last week at a workshop and went over the budget goals for fiscal year 2010. Many of them are similar, same to previous years. So I'll just read the main goals and focus on some of the new sub-goals underneath the main goals. First goal is to update the comprehensive three-year budget. This is something we've been doing for, I think, the last 3 years, Carl, with the three-year budget. And we keep rolling that forward in hopes of giving the town and school department a better idea of what we're going to need 3 years out, rather than just going from year to year to year. We still only approve an annual budget, but we like to see what we may be looking for in 3 years. The second goal is to continue to implement the next phases of the strategic plan. Third goal is to provide necessary services and materials to students. Fourth goal is maintain commitment to school building needs plan. The fifth goal is to review all potential revenue sources. And the sixth goal, which is a new goal that we've added this year, which is to work with federal, state, and local authorities to effectively manage unforeseen costs in special education, energy, and transportation. One of the issues we've had over the last several years is costs that pop up in special education that can't be planned for. And our goal is to continue, we've had a good working relationship with the Finance Committee and with the selectmen in terms of keeping them abreast of things like that pop up and when we might need money. So the goal there is to continue to work with them, but also to expand and see if there are things we can do at the federal and state level in terms of covering those costs. The energy and transportation costs, those are related. You saw oil went up $16 a barrel today. So who knows what energy is going to cost in the winter. I know we use natural gas for most of our buildings, and Mr. Nelson, I know, works. I've seen him. I think he gets pretty much daily phone calls or emails about what the price is of that day and what price we're locked into. I know we work with a consortium to buy at the best price possible, but we expect that there could be issues with energy and transportation costs this year. And we know that the working with the Finance Committee and the Selectmen, they're already looking at setting aside some money, and that's going to be discussed at town meeting for emergency energy costs next year. A couple other new goals, sub-goals that we've added under the talking about providing necessary services and materials to students. We've added this sub-goal in which is to provide resources to implement 21st century skills in teaching and learning. And it's kind of a buzz phrase talking about 21st century skills in teaching and learning, but it's a critical buzz phrase and it's a real phrase. It's not just buzz. We've got to make sure our kids are prepared for the 21st century world, and we're going to be looking at every opportunity to bring new teaching methods, proven teaching methods, and technology into our schools. And also, as Mr. Bach and I have discussed quite a bit, hopefully at some point bringing more business skills into our schools and helping kids who might not want to go to college, who might want to go into a different kind of business right out of high school. So, we want our kids prepared for the 21st century, and we thought it was important to spell that out. I think most of the rest of these are the same. We talk about further exploring all opportunities to cooperate with neighboring districts and town departments, similar to what we've done with the tennis courts, with having the joint girls hockey team with Wilmington High, the joint wrestling team with Linfield High, being part of a couple of consortiums, special education consortiums that we work with, and continuing along those lines. Does anybody in the committee have any comments or questions on the goals or any additions that you might want to make? So can I have a vote to approve our budget goals for
Move to approve.
2010? Motion by Mrs. Baca, can I have a second, please?
Second.
I'm gonna give that one to second by Mr. Venezia. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Then we have a timeline. Carl, do you wanna go over that timeline? Are we pretty much following the timeline that was laid out here by the Finance Committee?
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee has proposed that the Town Hall proposed that we follow the same timeline in the creation of a budget process, and it's very similar, as you say, to our previous years. The timeline that we're agreeing to here, or we're proposing, is that we provide a budget recommendation to the school committee on or about December 15th. That would be a preliminary budget, and it would be first step in the process. That has been the process we followed. Last year, we were a little bit different, but in prior years, we tried to get that preliminary budget out to you sometime, generally in early January. Now we're talking mid-December. After the preliminary budget is analyzed in early January, on or about January 10th, there would be a joint Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, School Committee. No, excuse me, January 10th is the annual day in which the Selectmen and the Finance Committee meet on a Saturday morning, I think, to interview the department heads in town government. And that would not necessarily impact the school department. Continuing on January 17th, there would be the joint School Committee, Finance Committee Budget Workshop. This is proposed to be on a Saturday, by the way. And following up, moving on into February, that would be the last date by which the Selectmen and the School Committee have to vote a recommended budget, after which time that budget would be part of the town warrant and therefore part of the town meeting process. The Selectmen then propose budget hearings on or about March 2nd, followed up by town meeting on April 6th. This is a proposal put together by the Finance Committee.
So we need to work, David, I liked what we did last year with those public forums that we held before we voted on the budget to get input from parents and other members of the community. So I'd like to see us schedule probably 2 or 3 of those in before that February 16th date when we take our last vote for the board for the budget. And then I guess we still have our formal hearing, which is after we take the vote.
That's on March 9th.
Okay.
Okay. 3/9.
March 9th was our
Yes, that's ours.
public hearing. How does February 16th fall into our calendar? Is it earlier than it has been in the past?
I believe it is. I
Couple
don't
weeks
have
early.
last year's to compare it, but much of these dates are, I want to say, 2 to 3 to 4 weeks earlier than we've traditionally used. If you may recall, we have been voting town meeting warrant budgets on the day, right into March, into mid-March. The school committee had, you're holding off because you're getting revenue projections. A lot of things are changing in that February-March period. This particular calendar, if it was followed scrupulously, would limit you to February 16th on your final budget.
The issue with that is it's virtually impossible to vote on our final budget. And we usually don't have a clue, even at April town meeting, what the state funding is going to be. But moving it back as early as February, and given what I read in the paper this weekend about September revenues for the state, already $200 million behind the first 2 weeks of September, who knows where things are going to be in February? And I just think it's going to be difficult for us to really put a budget together and recommend something at that time. I don't know. I'm
I
concerned.
don't mind when the administration gives us a recommended guideline so that we have target dates. I'm not gonna vote for a timeline and say I'm gonna commit to have a vote on our budget February 16th. I can't support that. I'm not gonna say now, I'll know on a date. What it should say is, given enough information and after having had enough public input, then I'll take a vote on the budget. But if I don't have the input and I haven't heard from the public, I'm not gonna say, it's the 16th, and I'm gonna vote. So,
Usually we do take a vote before our formal public hearing, correct? But it's usually 2 or 3 weeks later than this.
Public hearing, though, I believe, is in the second week of March.
Right, it is,
It's-
right.
yeah.
I mean, as I said, the more time we can get, the longer we can go, the better shot we maybe have at having some idea what state funding is going to be. And I know it's the same on the town side. I mean, neither of us is going to know.
often too, the school committee has wanted to, if possible,